And I feel like you're being overly protective of your domain, of your territory. I feel like you're being very territorial right now. But yeah, you're setting up a fence, you're setting up a barrier, you're setting up a perimeter. And what are you trying to achieve, Cancer? I'm hearing you don't want to be taken advantage of again or anymore. I feel like this is definitely a defensive posture, but I feel like this is also self-protection. I feel like whomever I'm connecting with, that you're drawing the line in the sand and you're saying, this is my red line, here are my boundaries, and here's my expectations. I don't want to be taken advantage of anymore. I will not be taken advantage of anymore, and I won't allow myself to be put in situations where, that is the case. I feel like this has to do with love, because crossing you is the Knight of Cups. So some of you may be indeed dealing with water signs in addition to your sign. This could be other Cancers, Pisces, or Scorpios. Or I feel like this could be you. I feel like you're communicating your boundaries. I feel like this is a romantic situation where you're bringing your message, because overall, the overall energy of the reading was the King of Swords. So I feel like it has a lot to do with communication right now, and I do get the sense. Let me just move this a bit up, just kind of get a little bit more light. I do get the sense that so confusing energy. I'm sorry. Because you're moving forward, right? You're moving forward with your cup of love to someone. But I get the sense that this is you sort of educating them about how you want to be treated in the future. I feel like there was something that happened, that maybe there was a split or a break or a pause in the relationship. And I think you're laying down the law. I think you're saying, all right, look, if we're going to continue to move forward and progress together as a couple, here's my expectations. I will not be taken advantage of. I will be treated with respect. Here are my lines. Here are my boundaries. If you cross them, then we have a problem. But yeah, I feel like you're declaring your truth, but I feel like this is you moving forward with your truth and being clear with your words. And I feel like those words are going to bring about healing and reconciliation to the connection. So we have the Star card. The Star card is all about blessings and healing from the divine, and this could also be Aquarius energy as well. We are in Aquarius season, so maybe this is also marking the environment of where we're at. But I do get the sense that you are delivering a healing message, right? That there is a conversation. Maybe this is a reconciliation of sorts going on. Yeah, because in your past position, you have the Lovers. So I'm getting relationships here. I'm getting romantic relationships, and I'm getting the sense that this is a significant and important connection for you. This is soulmate energy. This isn't something that's casual. And I do get the sense that, there's a lot of anxiety here about the connection and about the message here. And yeah, I feel like you have a lot on your mind. Like you want to communicate and you want to deliver these messages fast, because this is Eight of Wands. This is what's sitting in your mind's eye. And Eight of Wands is always fast, passionate communications. Let's get this going. Let's move. It's coming in reverse. So it's the opposite of that. This is a card to say, whoa, hang on. Before you speak all those words, before you speak them too quickly and too impulsively, check in with yourself. So I do get the sense that you are sort of measuring your words and being very careful with your messaging. I feel like you're not really scripting your words, but I feel like you're weighing your words and you're lining up your talking points with what you want to say to your person. Because I feel like what you want to say can be easily misconstrued if not conveyed properly. All right? But yeah, you have a lot of Wand energy. You have the 7, you have the 8, and the 9, all in reverse. You're coming in as a 7. On your mind's eye is the 8 reverse, and in your future position is the 9 reverse. You just flat out want to give up. I feel like you don't know what you want to do anymore, and you're so close to just to throwing in the towel. It's like, I've given everything I can. I've done everything I can. But what to do? What to do, right? This is so confusing, Cancers. I'm sorry. Let me just try and check in some more, because I'm just getting like this mixed energy. You know, there's love there, but there's also this energy of just wanting to give up. I feel like this is the last ditch effort, but this is sort of make or break, you guys, you know? And I think you're looking, like I said, I think you're looking for reconciliation here. We have the Knight and the Star, but we have all this wand energy of boundary setting, of not really communicating, taking a moment to think about your communications, and you're wanting to give up. You know, you've got the nine, again, the Nine of Wands reversed, and the Future card, and it's like, okay, if this doesn't work, then I think if this conversation doesn't work, then I think you're ready to throw in the towel and move on, and be on your own for a while. So I do get the sense that you are seeking assistance, perhaps with trusted friends, maybe a spiritual advisor or a counselor. I do feel like you are talking out your emotions with people that you trust, people's advice that you can adhere to, that usually give you good, sound, solid advice. So I do get the sense that you are doing that. You are collaborating with people, not really collaborating, but you're working with people to help sort out this mental clutter, because in your environment you're not sleeping at all. You're very, very stressed out. You're not sleeping at all. You're very anxious, just very on edge, right? And we see that here, you know, coming into the future. So I get the sense that if you can't fix this situation, then it's time to just give up. Is sort of what I'm picking up from your energy. Hopes and fears. I think you're looking for stability. Hopes and fears. I feel like, you know, you're looking for a partner that has the Queen of Pentacles qualities. Someone who's nurturing, someone who's stable, someone who's long-term, someone who will be a great mother, someone who's really good with their finances, someone who's very balanced. You know, they're very productive at work, they're successful at work, and they're very productive and nurturing at home. They're a wonderful lover, they're a giver and a receiver, but most importantly, they like to make their people happy. The people that they love in their lives, they like to make them happy. So I feel like, you know, this is your hopes and fears, and you're hoping for this Queen of Pentacles type energy to grace you. Or overall, I feel like this is what you're in search of for the relationship. That's what you would like it to look and feel like. Is very reciprocal, very balanced, very grounded, very traditional, which resonates with you, Cancers, because you guys are homebodies. You all govern the hearth and home, and you do appreciate traditional relationships, stability, things like that. So I do think that you are sort of looking for attributes of the Queen of Pentacles in your partner, both male or female, to take that how it resonates. All right, so your overall outcome is the Knight of Swords. I feel like this is going to be a discussion. I feel like this will be communication and the clarity that you're seeking between you and your partner. It's fast communication. It can be impulsive communication. I feel like there's a lot of texting going back and forth, or there could be. But just be careful. With the Knight of Swords, they usually act on impulse and seek forgiveness afterwards, later, right? So it's like they're just going to do what they're going to do because they want to do it, and regardless of how that makes people feel or how it impacts the situation, it's like, oh well, we'll try and figure it out on the back end. But in the moment, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z. So that's the energy of the Knight of Swords. So just be careful, again, with your words. I get the sense the overall energy is to really just be the master of communication and really just think about your message going forward and not be this guy. So just be very careful, is what I'm getting. But I think you know what you want to do, Cancer. I think you, like I said, I do get the sense that this is a last-ditch effort to sort of save the relationship. It is a significant relationship for you. It is a soulmate type connection is what I'm getting. But you're just kind of over it. You're just kind of ready to toss in the towel if your feelings aren't reciprocated or if you can't come into an agreement with your person. So let's go ahead and check in with the Pure Love Oracle deck right now and see what's going on between masculines and feminines. Oops. So I usually pull 2 cards for the masculine and 2 for the feminine. And we'll just kind of take it from there. Oh, so you have 3. You have a bonus for the masculines. It looks like you all have 3 as well. So I feel like there's a lot that needs to be said between the Cancers. Okay. Okay, so the masculine would like to share to his feminine, you are not open to love right now. I do not feel worthy, and we're not good for each other right now. Okay? Feminine would like to share to her masculine, I think of you as my best friend. Look for signs of our love around you, and I feel so connected to you. Yeah. So what I'm getting is a case of perhaps miscommunication or maybe a shift in the situation. I get the sense that you may have been out of communication for a while to give one another space. And I feel like the feminine perhaps may have been emotionally unavailable for some reason, or decided, you know what, I need a break from you. So with that, I feel like the masculine is still under the impression that she's not available and that he doesn't feel worthy and that he feels that they're not good for each other right now. So I feel like whatever is causing, this separation is kind of playing with the masculine's self-worth a little bit. I get the sense that, I get the sense that he's like, well, what did I do? How did I fail? How did I not support my feminine? But she's coming back and is like, look, I think of you as my best friend. I feel so connected to you, and look for signs all around you. So she's saying the exact opposite of what the masculine is feeling. So I'm sensing that this is really just a big case of miscommunication, or now it's time to have that conversation to update one another on what's going on with the relationship. So maybe that's why, Cancer, you're feeling like, okay, if this conversation doesn't work, this healing conversation doesn't work, well, then I'm donezo, right? I'm out. I want to give up. I want to toss in the towel. So, I wouldn't give up just yet, Cancer. I would first check in with your feminine, or again, however this is resonating, but check in with your person and see exactly where they're at, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised based on what we're seeing here. So this is a great time, to do that, because Venus is still in Pisces up until the 6th of February. So take advantage of that, because it is allowing us to open up and be a bit more vulnerable and more tender with our words. So that would be, now is a great time to leverage that time to communicate. We also have Mercury retrograde coming up around the middle of the month, so be careful, all right? So just something to think about. But yeah, I feel like right now is a perfect time up until the 6th, to have that healing conversation and to reach out and see how one another's doing. After the 6th, Venus moves into Aries, so fire energy. But yeah, so okay. Let me know how that works out for you all. Comment below. Keep in touch. I do think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the overall outcome of that connection. So I'm going to check in with the Shamanic Oracle deck and see what we have coming in for you. And right off the bat, what flew out of the deck was the Tree of Life. Yeah, this is a beautiful card. This is all about earth energy and getting really grounded in your roots, getting down to the core essence of who you are, Cancer. And I feel like that in order for you to move forward successfully in a relationship, you have to know who you are first. You have to understand your essence, you have to understand your roots and understand your background and ancestry in order to really evolve and move forward holistically in a relationship. This is about you really remaining grounded and steadfast as life throws you curveballs, and then allowing yourself to bloom and blossom and expand on a soul level and a spiritual level as we go through this process. So all of this is cyclical. All of these encounters are life's lessons, and they're here to teach us. They're here to teach us strength and clarity and wisdom and how to navigate life's challenges. So when we're up against similar situations in the future, we're prepared, we're ready, emotionally, spiritually, and physically to do so. But I feel like right now, Cancer, this is about you really understanding who you are at your core root and knowing what you want out of life and what you want out of a relationship and what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. Because you are boundary setting right now, and I get the sense that you are, looking at your self-worth. In fact, it even came out here. It came out here in the oracle. I don't feel worthy. Yeah. So there's a lot of that going on. So you need to really take a look at why you're not feeling worthy. And it's not about the person. It's not about your person who's coming in that's not making you feel worthy. There's something else that's underlying. That person is just the trigger. Okay? They're just the trigger, triggering that wound around self-worthiness. The wound is yours. The wound likely was sustained sometime in your childhood. So you need to go back and revisit the very beginning of that wound surrounding self-worth. Were you rejected as a child? Did your parents get a divorce? Because sometimes that will have an impact on your self-worth. Because when your parents separate, you're only, most of the time, you're going to reside with one parent, and the other person gets to see you, on certain prescribed days and so forth. So there can be a little bit of a feeling a bit rejected by the person who you're not living with primarily as a child. So again, it's just an example, but take a look at that, because core wounding around self-worth start at childhood, and they're just triggered by people in our lives as we go through life. And when we're in relationships, we all enter relationships wounded, and we don't realize it until we're sort of, being mirrored and triggered by these individuals. So get grounded and understand who you are at your core in order for you to move forward successfully in any type of relationship. But I feel like specifically this one, because this is dealing with your self-worth. All right, so let's go ahead and check in with the Sacred Earth Oracle deck. So the message you received is absence. Yeah, I'm hearing absence of faith. Why absence of faith? Absence of faith in who you are? Perhaps absence of faith in getting to know yourself truly. What's calling out to me is there is a tree. There's another tree. There's the branches and there's the trunk. You can see that. So I feel like I said, these cards have an uncanny way of synchronizing with one another. But I'm seeing two trees in there. There's a tree, and I feel like you're being asked to open up your heart chakra and to heal your heart chakra. There's a lot going on in here. And again, this has to deal with core wounding around self-worthiness. Absence of self is what I'm hearing also. Yeah, there's a lot of healing that needs to take place with you, Cancer. For those of you that I'm connecting with, I'm hearing absence of faith, absence of self, loss of self. So I feel like, this is really going back down to your childhood where you suffered some sort of traumatic interaction or traumatic memory that really resulted in maybe a rejection wound, a self-worthiness wound, an abandonment wound. I feel like all that is coming up now for you to deal with, and it's time to heal those wounds. And it has you keep staying up at night. It has you feeling rocked and rattled. But I do get the sense that some of you are taking advantage of counseling services. Again, this could be with a therapist, that can be with a spiritual advisor, or a trusted friend who gives good counsel. But yeah, I do get the sense, again, what we said in the beginning of the reading, your hopes and fears was